Hello folks, I'm John Myrie and welcome to the Wisconsin Northland Outdoors. On this week's show we have tips and reports for you from Ken Milender down at Hayward Bait and Bottle. And then we talk winter hunting and fishing with Hayward Area Fishing Guide Kyle Sorensen. And then lastly we're talking ice fishing electronics with Hayward Area Fishing Guide Noah Glitto. Lots to cover on this week's show, all coming up right after these messages.
Save on your new Polaris snowmobile with a holiday sales event at Hayward Power Sports. Most remaining 2024 models offer rebates up to $2,000 or financing as low as 1.99% for 36 months, plus a 2-year promotional warranty. From relaxing two-up trail cruising to aggressive trail attacking, we have your machines. Meanwhile, the new 2025 Polaris Indy XCR features the new 9R Patriot engine for unbeatable response and acceleration. Get your new Polaris sled today at Hayward Power Sports, just 10 minutes east of Hayward on Highway 77.
Riding along in my automobile.
Bumping into things unexpectedly? Make your first choice for collision repair. Ernie's Auto Body, featuring the most advanced collision repair facility in Northwest Wisconsin. With a state-of-the-art spray bake down draft paint booth for that better-than-new finish, laser technology for precision frame alignment, loaner cars available, computerized estimates, written guarantees, and documented unmatched customer service, the clear choice is Ernie's Auto Body, south of Hayward on Highway 63 and Nursery Road, where quality is no accident.
Lynn's Custom Meats and Catering welcomes you to stop by for their great lunch menu. And while you're there, Lynn's also has a great selection of custom-cut meats and sausages, as well as many varieties of snack sticks, jerky, fresh cheese curds, and much more. Lynn's is open Mondays through Fridays from 9 to 5:30 and 9 to 4 on Saturdays. Lynn's Custom Meats and Catering in Hayward.
Today, anglers fish longer. Today, anglers fish harder. Today, anglers rely more than ever on their electronics. It all comes down to catching more fish, and today, anglers rely on Amped Outdoors lithium batteries, period. Visit ampedoutdoors.com today to power your outdoor experience.
We're down in Hayward Bait and Bottle talking to Ken Milender down here. And Ken, good to have you on here this weekend.
Yeah, we have a lot more ice this year than we did last year at this time.
You bet. Well, you know, we've got the holiday season on. It seems like we're in here today. I've been here today, and the place is just a lot of people going out.
Yeah, once the snowmobiles and the quads get out, people get out a lot of different lakes.
You know, and some of the lakes actually are staked out there right now. Chippewa Flowage is staked on snowmobile trails, so there's quite a bit of ice out there. I'm hearing 10 inches, or somewhere's in that area.
Yeah, that'd be like whitefish and certain areas of maybe Le Coudray, and those areas might have some thinner areas, but as far as four-wheeling and snowmobiling, a lot of the lakes are pretty good.
You know, there have been quite a few people ice fishing. I mentioned that I've been down in the shop here and a lot of people over the holidays here. What are most of them going after out there?
Walleyes and northerns seem to be really dominant this last week. There's still a lot of crappie anglers out there and a few sunfish and northerns up on the flats. A lot of the big northerns are still on the flats right now due to not a whole lot of snow. There's still a lot of light penetration, creating photosynthesis within the weeds and creating good pH for them.
You know, as long as you got early in the year like this, and we're just basically into the first part of the ice season, a lot of those fish that people think will go deep, they don't go deep. They're up in pretty skinny water sometimes.
I think it's more barometer driven versus depth this time of year. I mean, so if you have a good barometer or low light conditions, even the walleyes have been caught in 3 to 5 feet of water this last week.
You know, and early in the year like this, we're getting to the point where we got a little more ice. There's still a little bit, you got to be careful of making a lot of noise out on the ice, but we're not at that point where we were at 4 inches ice now, and they're really spooky.
It depends. So there's a couple walleye bars that I fish out on Le Coudray, and usually it's, like after the next full moon coming up when that area gets good and it's in 18 to 22 feet. You need to have your holes drilled by 3 o'clock, and then once the sun hits the tree line, you have multiple flags going for like a half hour to 40 minutes.
Yeah, and you're better off to stay away from the tip-ups and, leave it kind of quiet around them. Unless you're fishing northerns, it seems like sometimes just go out and sometimes I've seen where you make a lap with a snowmobile or a truck or something around your tip-ups. It seems to wake everything up.
Yes, it does. And in fact, there's a lot of YouTube videos out there where live scope, they'll go out there and chase the fish by drilling other holes further out to chase them to you.
Yeah, it's amazing how spooky those fish are when you're drilling holes. And you mentioned the live scope, that's forward-facing sonar. I mean, that's an incredible tool out there. You can actually see, you can look out 50, 60, 70 feet and see the ice, the auger go through the ice.
Yeah, especially when you put it in reverse and push the ice all down. That ice, if you have a good auger, it'll push it down 5-6 feet, and then it'll just disperse out and then float back up.
And you mentioned crappies and bluegills. That's another thing a lot of people fish after, go after in the wintertime. And I'm getting good reports on that already.
Yeah, perch. There's a few guys that got on some 10, 12-inch perch, and, them are good eating too.
Yeah, it seems like finding the really big perch is difficult nowadays, especially on our lakes. There's some out there, but those 12-inch perch are really few and far between. But we've got some lakes that have some 8 to 10 inchers, and those are big enough to have a good fish fry.
Yeah, in my opinion, I think the biggest perch in the lake they're eat off the muck life, so you can find like a little hard bottom spot or a little rock ridge that tails out to the muck areas. That's where the biggest perch are going to be, or some of them hard bottom flats that have snails and stuff on them. And it's hard to tell unless you put a camera down there, but back on Lake of the Woods, that's where the big perch are.
Well, you mentioned it's hard to tell when they're down there because a lot of times they're hugging the bottom, and a lot of people don't realize this, but in many situations out there, if not most of the situations, anything hugging the bottom tight or down in the muck, you won't see it on your sonar. You can pull into an area and you won't see anything down there. You drop something down there and pound down the mud a couple of times or the bottom, and all of a sudden the fish come out of there and you see them.
Yeah, I've been out Cisco fishing in 59 feet of water, and they blend right on the bottom. I just go down with a little jigging rap, and they get to show themselves, so then you just try on different baits and catch them then.
As far as the crappies and bluegills, has it been mostly plastics, or now they started to go? Because in the wintertime, sometimes live bait is the answer.
It's like 50-50. Plastics are still doing well.
And you mentioned northern pike earlier in the talk here. Northern pike fishing has been pretty good from what I hear, and some really nice pike too.
So it seems like the walleye guys are going after the northern suckers, and the northern guys are going after medium shiners.
And pike, if you're looking to have a fish fry, we mentioned earlier about, keeping only what you need to eat. Don't ignore the pike. Pike are great eating, especially in the wintertime. It's a nice, solid, firm white meat.
The wintertime, they taste a lot better than they do in the summertime.
In a pike, there's actually, we've got some lakes up here where we have a 10-bag limit on them, which is pretty, generous.
Yeah, and there's a lot of YouTube videos that are really good in regards to getting them Y bones out.
And, you guys down here at the shop, you're all geared up for the ice fishing season. You got a great display of just about everything, shacks, augers, everything. A lot of new stuff out there, too.
Yes. There's some new electronics out there, and they're priced to move here. Just come check us out.
Ken, I want to thank you for taking the time here. Anybody needs the information on lakes and stuff, they can stop by the shop here, because I think almost everybody fishes.
Well, thank you. Stop in. We'll try to give you the latest techniques and ice conditions that we can gather up for the customers.
Well, folks, we need to take a break right now and hear from some of the fine sponsors that make this show possible every week. When we come back, we'll be talking winter fishing and hunting with Hayward area guide Kyle Sorensen. So stay tuned. We'll be back right after these messages. Hunters and anglers, Hayward Bait and Bottle is your one-stop sport and bottle shop in Hayward. They have a huge selection of ice fishing gear, including portable shelters, power augers, electronics, beaver dam tip-ups, ice rods, and just about anything you'll need for ice fishing. They also have archery supplies, bows, crossbows, muzzle loaders, ammo, and much more to help you enjoy the outdoors. While you're there, check out the bottle shop for a full selection of beer, wine, and liquor, too. Hayward Bait and Bottle is your one-stop sport and bottle shop.
The Hayward Lakes Visitors and Convention Bureau in Sawyer County, Wisconsin welcomes you to our Northwoods hometown. No matter the season, no matter the activity, you'll always be surrounded by our great outdoors. What more could you ask for in a vacation destination? Woods, waters, world-class events. Contact us for information on lodging, dining, attractions, events, trail conditions, and more. Order your free vacation guide and start planning your getaway today. Visit us at haywardlakes.com or call 1-800-724-2992.
You want to get outdoors, you want to have some fun.
A new Can-Am side-by-side is the perfect companion for all seasons. Hayward Powersports still has an awesome selection of new 2024s, and they currently offer rebates up to $2,000 or 2.99% financing for 36 months. If you like the creature comforts, the very popular Can-Am Defender Limited HD10 offers a $1,500 rebate to go along with its full cab, including heat and AC. Looking for a value price machine? The Can-Am Defender XT HD7 features a winch, roof, front bumper, and full skid plate. With a $1,500 rebate, it's all yours for just $14,899. Maybe you need a little more muscle. Unleash the power of the Can-Am Defender XT HD9 or 10 with $1,500 rebates. With the money you save, you can outfit your new Can-Am with a plow, cab accessories, and so much more. Your new all-season companion is waiting at Hayward Powersports, just 10 minutes east of Hayward on Highway 77.
Certain restrictions apply. Subject to credit approval. See your dealer for details.
Welcome back to another segment of this week's Wisconsin Northland Outdoors, and this part of the show is brought to you by the Hayward Lakes Visitor and Convention Bureau. For more information on lodging and vacationing here in the Hayward Lakes area, check out their website at haywardlakes.com. Well, folks, one of the guides I get on here from time to time is Hayward area fishing guide Kyle Sorensen. I had a chance to talk to Kyle the other night on his cell phone about winter hunting and fishing. And Kyle, I've been having you on for a while. Great to have you on here.
Yeah, thanks for getting me back, John.
Let's talk a little bit about winter. Everybody thinks winter, it's ice fishing, snowmobiling, but, right now we don't have much snow for snowmobiling, but conditions are pretty good for a lot of other things out there, not just the ice fishing.
Yeah, and actually the lack of snow makes one of my favorite pastimes this time of year, bird hunting for grouse, a lot easier because there's not so much snow to be trudging through in the woods. It's easier on the dogs running in the woods. And it's really a fun time of year, and it's not all about ice fishing.
Usually you'll find the grouse kind of bunched up, too, at some point in the winter. Are they starting to see that already?
Yep. We've been finding some coveys of birds, 3 to maybe 5, and I would expect to see some even bigger groups coming up here. A lot of them seem to be concentrated where there's some needle trees like balsam and spruce, where they have some good thermal cover.
Yeah, well, that's they get into a bunch, and sometimes they'll come out of there every which way going, it seems like.
Yeah, you definitely don't get a good shot opportunity at every one that flushes, but there's plenty of them out there.
The populations on those things go up and down, and right now you think we're going down a little bit from where we were?
Yeah, I think we're headed down on the cycle, but no matter where the grouse cycle is, I think that there are populations that are doing pretty well, and if you're willing to walk and you're willing to do a little bit of research, I think you can find them no matter where the cycle is.
Yeah, well, a lot of that depends on the habitat pretty much. And, I think it all hinges a lot on what's done on forestry practices, clear cutting and with young growth of aspen and stuff, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely hard to find grouse in the mature woods. A lot of times, something I look for is popple slashings that have grown back to the point where they're about as big around as maybe your wrist or your forearm. And I don't know if that's maybe a 6-7 year regrowth, but when they're about that size, the grouse really seem to like them.
We don't have much for pheasant hunting. I grew up doing a lot of pheasant hunting down in southern Minnesota, but you've been out to Dakotas and stuff pheasant hunting, but I know one of the guys from Hayward here, there's a place where it's only a couple-hour drive from here where the DNR actually stocks pheasants. It's a public hunting area. So there are opportunities, to go hunting for ringnecks, too.
Yeah, I don't know the exact number. I think it's about 40,000 pheasants that they'll stock into Wisconsin a year. I'm not positive on that number, but I think a couple thousand of those go into Lake Hallie in some public ground, which is near Chippewa Falls, Eau Claire area. There's a few more down by Ladysmith and that. It's really not a terrible far drive from Hayward here to get down and hunt some public land roosters.
Yeah, there's always something going on, and I mentioned earlier, everybody thinks about, ice fishing and tip-ups and stuff, but that's one option. You got ice fishing, but, there's some open water fishing opportunities to be had, too, between now and the time the ice goes off, right? Because we have some open water places.
Yeah, so I believe our inland catch and release trout season starts January 1st. So whenever you get a day that's above freezing after January 1st, you can get out and target those beautiful brown trout. Otherwise, if you want to drive a little farther south, the Lake Michigan tributaries are open year-round. And a lot of those fisheries, you can actually keep fish.
I know you go down there quite a bit, don't you, down in the Lake Michigan tributaries?
Yeah, I really like to get down there. The brown trout run pretty large, and the amount of fish that are jammed into some of those rivers is pretty amazing. At times there can be thousands of fish per mile, and it's a pretty crazy fishery.
It's a whole different tactic and technique to fishing for those trout in them streams, though, isn't there? Especially steelhead and stuff.
Yeah, one of my favorite ways is essentially bobber fishing them, and not even necessarily with live bait. A lot of times we'll be using just a little egg representation or a little fly or a small jig or a waxy. Even chunks of shrimp work good under a bobber.
You know, in some places up in Alaska and stuff, I've heard about them using just a colored bead. Does that same type of thing work here too?
Yeah, absolutely. We use anywhere from about a 1/4 inch size up to maybe a 3/4 inch size. And yeah, they'll bite them.
How do you rig that up when you're rigging a bead? Bead's probably got a hole through the middle of it, right?
Yep. So the beads have a hole through the middle. You thread your line on, and you'll shove either a toothpick or a rubber band or some kind of bobber stop mechanism in there to hold the bead about 2 finger widths above your hook, and then just tie in like a normal slip bobber hook, like I don't know if it's maybe a size 2 or a size 4 octopus hook.
Well, you know, it's an interesting thing is going after the trout. I mean, I grew up doing a lot of trout fishing down in southern Minnesota with my granddad, and that was a lot of stream fishing, mostly in, you know, the more moderate type climates, I guess you'd say.
Yeah, it's not for the faint-hearted getting out in the winter and trout fishing. You definitely want to have warm gloves and, you know, dress plenty warm because it's cold out there, but the fish are still biting.
Yeah, as far as the waders, they got like insulated waders, or what do you got there for to keep your feet and your legs warmer?
Oh, I wish I could say that I found a way to keep my feet warm, but it pretty much, you just gotta deal with it. My feet end up frozen pretty much every day I go.
You know, it's talking about frozen. You know, there's a lot of people out there ice fishing now too, and this year it seems like we've got some really good ice conditions out there compared to what we had the last couple of years so far.
Yeah, it seems like it's going pretty well. I haven't been out on the ice much, but from what I've been seeing from the ice report guys, it looks like it's going pretty good.
Yeah, you know, and, you know, time to, you know, work on other stuff too. I mean, the winter projects is not always outdoors. I mean, we got a lot of stuff to think about getting ready for the spring, you know, too, at some point here after we get, you know, into January and February. There'll be sports shows coming up and looking at some of the new stuff out there and, you know, get in the boat and look at what we can rig in the boat. I know you did something last year. You rigged up with lithium batteries from AMP, I think, in your boat too, didn't you?
Yeah, I started running my electronics on the 16-volt amped lithium, and that was a game changer. I was, you know, with running a Garmin Live Scope and a bunch of Humminbird stuff, I was killing my batteries every day, and now with that lithium, I haven't had a day where it's let me down, so it's been awesome.
Well, I know I run my whole boat on it, both my boats, and, you know, at trolling motors, I out there spot locked for hours in 20-mile-an-hour winds, 25 miles an hour, and I've never seen the batteries less than 60% when I come in, because there's an app tells you what your batteries are, what's left in your batteries and how much current they're drawing and everything else, and I've never seen less than 60%.
You know, the app thing is funny. I didn't think that I would think that's as cool as it is, but now that I've got that app, I just love it. It's so cool to be able to check where your batteries are at, and people in my boat seem to get a kick out of it.
Well, Kyle, you know, if anybody's looking for, you know, get out with you once we get open water or get on the rivers or whatever, I know you cover just about everything. How do they get a hold of you or find out more information about your guide service and stuff?
Yeah, so if you want to get out and maybe do some grouse hunting or any of those other things like John said, SorensenOutdoors.com, or my phone number is 715-558-8911.
Okay, well, I really appreciate you taking the time with our listeners here.
Thanks, John.
Well, folks, you know, we need to take yet another break and hear from even more of the fine sponsors that make this show possible every week. When we come back, we'll be talking to Hayward Area Fishing Guide Noah Glitto. So stay tuned. We'll be back right after these messages. Hey folks, come on over to Hayward Ace Hardware and check out the area's largest selection of firearms, ammo, and accessories. We carry top brands like Browning and Sig Sauer, and we have a great selection of the newest and hard-to-find models. We've got a large selection of ammo with more coming in daily. If you need a scope, we carry great brands like Leupold, Hawk, and EOTech, and we'll even mount it and bore-sight it for you too. We even sell suppressors and silencers. And don't forget to check out our Guns of the Week. Huge discounts on a variety of pistols, rifles, and shotguns that change every week. So stop on in to Hayward Ace Hardware, your firearms superstore. Hayward Ace Hardware, Highway 63 North in Hayward, or give us a call at 715-634-8700.
Hayward Animal Hospital is a full-service medical and surgical hospital featuring on-site laboratory, digital and dental x-ray, in-house pharmacy, and online store. Dr. Ostrander has 40 years of experience dealing with illnesses, injuries, surgery, and dentistry. Hayward Animal Hospital offers urgent care appointments and emergency surgery daily. Please call early in the day for these appointments. They open at 8 a.m. Hayward Animal Hospital is located 1 mile east of Hayward on Highway B. Call 715-634-8971.
Hey folks, the Log Cabin Store in Northwoods Beach on Highway K between the Big Lakes has groceries, ice, beer, liquor, and pop, and now has all new tackle and bait supplies. All current antiques and household items are now on sale and all must go to make room for the sport shop. That's at the Log Cabin Store in Northwoods Beach between the Big Lakes.
If you'd like to have your time fishing be more enjoyable and productive, hiring a fishing guide can be a good investment. Whether it's learning more about fish patterns throughout the year, learning how to use your depth finder to find the best spots and fish, learn how to use that GPS to get the most out of it, or learn better boat control. A day on the water with a guide can really help you to be a better angler, as well as make a day on the lake very enjoyable. To book a guide trip this year or get more information, you can find us on the internet at www.wiscnorthlandoutdoors.com and then just click on Area Guides.
Welcome back to the last segment of this week's Wisconsin Northland Outdoors. And folks, on this part of the show, we're talking to Hayward Area Fishing Guide Noah Glitto about the benefits of using lithium batteries out there when you're ice fishing and more. Noah, I've been talking to Matt over at Amped Outdoors over there and talking about some of the things on batteries for ice fishing and what they've got out there. And, the whole lithium battery thing, I started running them over a whole season, now running them in my boat. It's unbelievable. I never want to look at another lead-acid battery if I can, and if I can help it. But, you run them in your guide boat, you run them in your tournaments, all the stuff you do. But ice fishing, too, and, that's changed the whole thing out there, the way we look at everything, the lithium deal.
The lithium is really bringing an advantage to the table when you're talking about weight savings, the amount of time you can spend on the water, and the quality of the time you spend on the water.
As far as, we talk about ice fishing, there's a whole bunch of different sizes of batteries out there, too, now, and with the more, the traditional smaller size, the size of the lead-acid batteries we use on the Vexilars, we've got them out there, but there's some that are quite a bit bigger, and where would you use that at?
Some of those bigger ones, once you get past about 12 amp hours of size, you start to jump into the larger batteries, 20 amp hour, 30, 35, 40 amp hour batteries. They're a little bit larger, and you'd want to use that as something like a forward-facing sonar unit that you're actively hunting the fish with. It takes a screen, it takes a brain box, it's got a higher quality transducer that pulls more power. All that stuff takes more power. It burns up a lot more power faster, so that 8 amp hour battery that you're used to might only last you 2 hours on the ice with a lead acid. So going lithium, going 30 amp hour will allow you to fish out there for 10, 12 hours.
Those 30 amp hour batteries, for instance, probably weigh less than your little 9 amp hour lead acid that you get in most of these.
Yeah, I'd say they weigh about the same as a regular 8 amp hour lead acid or less, those big batteries. And when you buy like a lithium 8 amp hour or 12 amp hour, the same size as that 8 amp hour lead acid battery, it's incredibly light. It almost feels like you're holding a joke. It doesn't even exist. You put that in your Vexilar, it makes it real easy to carry. You're not worn down. You can fish longer hours without feeling worn down. You can go longer distances, find those fish, hunt those fish down.
And they charge up extremely fast.
Yeah, if you fished in the morning and your battery's died and you want to go fish in the afternoon, you plug that battery in 2-3 hours, it'll be charged up.
Let's kind of fast forward here. We're going to get through this ice fishing season, but open water, and people will start thinking about how they're going to set up their boat next year and if they're going to make any changes. What kind of tip would you give them as far as battery selection and battery size for their boats?
Typically on a boat, you're going to have trolling motor batteries. They have 24-volt batteries now. They got 36-volt batteries now. So if you got a 24-volt trolling motor or 36-volt trolling motor, there's a battery that you can get to remove the one or two batteries that you would need for that trolling motor. Adds more space into your boat, reduces the weight, and those batteries are real powerful and they last a long time. Something like that would be an option for upgrading to save you some weight and maybe extend the longevity of your use of trolling motor on the water. And then when it comes to fishing electronics, typically I don't use anything less than a 60 amp hour for electronics because I fish long hours. I might fish multiple days in a row without charging the boat. I've got, multiple screens on the boat, whereas ice fishing, I only got one. I've got, 3 or 4 screens on at a time in the boat, so that draws more power. I run a 100 amp hour battery for my electronics, and I run 100 amp hours of 36-volt battery for my trolling motor. I fish long hours, I fish tournaments, I fish multiple days in a row, so having that extra power really helps.
Well, actually, you can 24-volt batteries. I run 2 of them in my boat, 50 amp hour, 24-volt batteries hooked in parallel. Gives me 100 amp hour. But I think a lot of times people start thinking they want overkill. They're actually thinking higher than they need. I mean, in my Lund Rebel, I run one 24-volt 50 amp hour battery, and I've never come close to depleting the battery in a fishing day.
A similar situation for me. I run 2 50 amp hour 36-volt batteries for my boat. And I fish long hours, and I'll plug it in, and I'll go check it, in a couple hours, and it's already fully charged. So I'm really unsure of even how close I got to killing the battery, but I doubt I was even anywhere near close to killing that battery.
And also when we're rigging up, if we're changing the batteries and everything else, so one thing people overlook is the wiring in the boat. A lot of times that's totally inadequate for what we need for some of the newer electronic units, the forward-facing sonar. You need the longer the run of the wire, the higher the resistance is, and the lower, you're going to get as far as performance out of it.
That's correct. Most of the boats that I'm putting together, helping clients out, I'm running 8-gauge wire to a fuse box that stuff can connect to closer to where the units are. So up in the front of the boat, you got 2 or 3 screens up in the front, a live scope transducer up there. I'm running everything to a higher quality wire. 8 gauge is typically the sweet spot there, and then I'll run, 10 or 12 gauge to the units.
And that's the whole key there is you want to supply it that main power, because if you're starting to see that where especially it was a big deal when we run all our electronics off our starting battery and you hit the key to start your motor and your electronics shut down. Sometimes changing the wire going from the battery to the fuse block with the trolling motor to a little heavier gauge wire would eliminate that even.
Yeah, a lot of times just that resistance from that lower quality wire will not allow the proper amount of power to get sent to that unit, and it'll shut it off. It'll flicker or flash, or sometimes it'll shut off entirely and you have to wait, a second to turn it back on.
I encourage anybody that's thinking about gearing up for next year in their boats too. If they get a chance to go to one of the sports shows or something, and someplace like, I know Amped has displays on a lot of the shows, but, you can pick up the batteries and you can just see. It's hard to imagine the difference in weight, but it's unbelievable, the weight. I mean, for instance, I think if I'm correct, a 24-volt 50 amp hour battery weighs something like 24 pounds.
Yeah, it's really unbelievable. You go pick up a lead acid battery of that, similar power rating, and it's 60, 70 pounds. And those bigger batteries for running, even more power, they weigh 80, 90 pounds. It's unbelievable how much those batteries really weighed when we used to use them.
Noah, a lot of great information and things for people to think about here as we're prepping for the next season and even the ice fishing season here. You want to give out some guide information if people are interested in wanting more information on how to get a hold of you for guiding, or if they want more information on electronics or setup or something?
You can find me online at noahglittoguiding.com, or you can contact my cell phone at 612-616-6287. Feel free to text or call me if you got any questions about electronics, boat rigging, or even just basic fishing knowledge.
Noah, thanks a lot for talking to us here.
Yep, always a pleasure.
Well, folks, we're about out of time for this week's show. I'd like to remind everyone out there that if you miss a show, go to our website at wnoradio.com. And from there, you can link to our podcast site, and the show is also on Spotify and Google Podcasts every week. And also, if you're looking for information on vacationing and lodging here in the Hayward Lakes area, check out the Hayward Lakes Visitor and Convention Bureau website at haywardlakes.com. Thanks for listening, folks. We're out of time, and we'll be back again next week with another interesting show for you.
Listen with me, I'm gonna take you there to our Wisconsin outdoors, our Wisconsin outdoors.
This program has been produced and hosted entirely by Wisconsin Northland Outdoor Communications.